Good afternoon. I'm Tonya Arnesen, Senior Pastor of Jackson First United Methodist Church. And this is Food for Thought for August the 3rd, 2020. I'm not normally given to worry, and I'm not a worrywart at all. I tend to just take life as it comes and do the best I can. However, I woke up this morning at 4:30 a.m. worrying. I'm just back from vacation and I worried about the workload and trying to re-enter into the responsibilities and demands of ministry. I worried about what it's going to look like when we begin live streaming our worship services this Sunday morning. I worried about what it's going to look like in September when we begin in-person worship. Imagine my shock and surprise after spending a few hours worrying this morning when I opened up Joyce Rupp's thoughts for the month of August, and the title of it is The Fearful Heart. It's about worry. This one hit me right between the eyes. I'm going to read part of it for you this morning, and I'll read the rest of it on Wednesday. She writes, "Have you ever thought about all the time we spend worrying? Mark Twain said that most of the things we worry about will never happen, but we go on worrying anyhow. When we have special plans on a trip to take, we worry about the weather, if we'll have a good time or if we'll forget something. When we are in a new or different situation, we worry about our appearance or what we will say. If we have good health, we worry about becoming ill. If we have poor health, we worry about getting well again. We worry about money and about how we spend our time. We concern ourselves with security about being a success. We worry about relationships and about children growing up. We become anxious about being on time, looking good, finding fulfillment, being faithful, and ever so many other things. Does any of that sound familiar to you? It sure does to me. Yet worrying keeps us from being free, from noticing and enjoying life's goodness. It focuses on what is unknown or on what we think will soon be there tomorrow to shame or haunt us. Worrying saps away our inner energy because we spend so much time tossing and turning over the what ifs and the maybes. Worrying distracts us from our vision, our goals and dreams. It shakes fingers at us and causes us to just distrust ourselves. Worrying eats the heart out of peace and tends to keep us occupied with ourselves instead of with God and the people of God. In a beautiful little book, Making All Things New, Henry Nouwen points to worrying as a major hindrance of spiritual growth. He writes, "One of the most notable characteristics of worrying is that it fragments our lives. The many things we do, to think about, to plan for, the many people to remember, to visit, or to talk with, the many causes to attack or defend, all these pull us apart and make us lose our center. Worrying causes us to be all over the place, but seldom at home. One way to express the spiritual crisis of our time is to say that most of us have an address that cannot be found there. We know where we belong, but we keep being pulled away in many different directions as if we were homeless. All these other things keep demanding our attention. They lead us so far from home that we eventually forget our true address, that is, the place where we can be addressed." And then Joyce Rupp continues, "A good question to ask is, why do we worry? And what do we worry about? The many reasons why we give in to this chaotic disorder of the spirit include a lack of belief in how God deeply and personally cares for us. A persistent attitude that says we can do it all by ourselves without God's power at work in us. This is a response to life which emphasizes, I'll manage it by myself, instead of a gospel response, let what you have said be done to me. That's from Luke 1, verse 38. A difficulty in accepting the reality that not all of life will be positive, that life bears the marks and smudges of our own and others' human weaknesses. A Pollyanna approach which insists that life must always be fair, comfortable, and serene. A poor memory which often or quickly forgets that growth can happen through both success and failure. It is important for us to recognize our fears and not to ignore them. When we recognize them, we can begin to deal with them. We can look our fears in the eye and know they do not control us. We do not need to give in to the worrying voices within us. The more we deal with our hidden fears, the freer we will be to live in peace and to share our gifts. I'm going to end there for today and invite you to take some time in these next couple days before I conclude this chapter on Wednesday. Write down the things that worry you. Be honest about those things that keep you up at night or that split your focus or become a distraction. And put them down, confess them to God, and then give them to God. For we know that God is big enough to handle all of the things that we fear. I look forward to being with you again on Wednesday when we will continue talking about an antidote for worry. In the meantime, be blessed and be well, and know you are beloved. Amen.